if you look way back on ARGN, you can see the article about the game, and it says that I was the first person to ever use another game to launch. So yay! It was called, and they called it the Message Center instead of the Room of Doom, because my character was just called the Messenger. I don't know why they came up with that. But an important, that's a big step in creating one of those, is getting seen, and getting seen in a way that's not, hey, this is an alternate reality game. You guys should check it out. It's gonna be cool.
So, what percentage? So, I guess the professional ones are all like product stunts. Mm-hmm. Are there any? So, there's none out there that are just like, this is a cool thing.
There are many that are just, this is a cool thing. There's a lot that are out there just to kind of tell a cool story. It's a really fun, like I said, it's a great writing exercise. If you have an idea for a story and you don't know where to go, make other people take it there. But there are a lot of like independent ones that are run. A lot of them evaporate because it's just one guy working. I was hardcore into a vampire one, and then one day the site updated and just said family emergency, game canceled. I was like, oh, you couldn't even like.
Well, how do you know that's not part?
Or something?
How do you know that's not part of the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you sure? Did you check in on that?
I did.
Show up at a funeral and
because the PM, as they call them, the puppet masters,
and then make a poker hand out of the
reveal his identity. That's
the
like
dead
the
guy's
thing
name.
you're supposed to like keep covered is who you really are. So when a game is over, it's kind of like, by the way, it was me, and that's kind of the end of a game. There's also an issue. It didn't happen to me, thank God. Do you guys ever hear of something called Haunted Majora's Mask?
Yes. What, the Ben Drown thing?
The Ben Drown thing. That's you giggle. It's one of the best ones out there. It's
I know.
Really
I am into creepypasta from an ironic, this is really stupid point of view. Like, one of my favorite things I've ever read was Sonic.exe.
I haven't read that one. I know of it.
You need to read it. It is hilariously awful.
But in short, someone makes the story about how he finds a game cartridge for Majora's Mask, but it doesn't look right. It's like, it just says Majora's Mask in Sharpie on a gray case. And he plays the game, and there's something wrong with it. But there's videos of him playing it. And so it's not like he's just making something up, that we're actually seeing it. And in real life, it turns out he hacked the game.
He at least put in the effort to make a ROM hack.
But
That's impressive.
it looks really good. And like the save files keep changing to this guy Ben, and like Link keeps like swimming out into the ocean and drowning. Like he can't control all these things. The story goes on. He like asks for help from us to like look into things, and then out of nowhere, there's this thing you have to download, and it was like, well, that's interesting, and you clicked it, and it
put malware on your computer.
What?
And it put malware on your computer.
Yeah, you would download it, and it was all these posts that were missing from the website. And it turned out that the game had actually, because he was recording it into his computer, like the ghost had moved onto his computer and was like editing things and changing things. And then in downloading it, we released this ghost onto the internet. And that is how the game ended. Was it? You just got this weird video on YouTube that just said, I'm free. And you saw Ben, and then it was just kind of over. And it was a great, creepy story. Somebody who was not the guy who created this then attempted to make the sequel. And it was just mostly just him in the woods, like, oh God, it's coming. And like for the longest time, I was like, well, this is, I mean, I'm glad this story's going to continue, but this is kind of terrible. And this guy had to come out and be like, no, this game was, they call it game jacking, where someone just steals the game and tries to make it their own. So that's another flaw of this whole thing, because it's such an uncharted form of writing that it's the Wild West still.
So I'm just wondering if, so the venting download wasn't actually a virus, it was actually just
It wasn't actually a virus.
No, yeah,
the idea was that in downloading it, it was
I'm just thinking like a very clever person would instead when they download it would just steal all your bitcoins or something. Steal all your bitcoins.
Why put all the work into it when you could just send out emails that are like free porn? And a lot of people are like, wow, I'll click on that.
Because people already know where to get free porn.
Yeah, but not dumb people.
So, I mean,
Really?
my
Oh,
question
you'd be
is,
surprised.
well, first of all, there's a game there's a game coming out with that premise, like an actual game coming out with the premise that a computer game that when you play it, things start changing on your computer, and you can't uninstall it easily.
Right.
I forget what it's called. Sorry, but it's an actual game.
Romanian cyber malware.
Yeah, that's the very definition of
You actually, there is a way to uninstall it if you read the README of the actual game, but the easy way doesn't work.
It's like this virus I know called Norton.
But the question is, I come across a lot of creepypasta that's sounds like ARGs, right? But then it's it ends in murder.
I mean,
has there ever been legal problems other than Batman kidnapping someone?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not great in the community.
That's surprising.
I think there was a Law and Order where that was explored once, but I can't remember the specific.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's creepypastas all over the place.
How much effort, if you get a giant marketing firm doing the Batman one, and the biggest thing they do is get a guy into a van and be like, hey, you're part of this now, isn't this cool?
Yeah.
And that's the...
Well, I meant something where you give people weird instructions and it's not quite interpreted right, and it results in a mob of people actually beating somebody up or stealing their stuff.
There's a movie out called Smiley. It's on Netflix. It's awful, but that exactly happens. They make up a thing to make up a creepypasta, and then people actually go out and start harassing this girl and making her think that this thing is real, and then they end up killing her. Yeah, just because they needed a good creepypasta story.
I've read things where it's just some guy sends these cryptic messages and someone's interpreting it on YouTube and they go to the place and then there's the body.
Yeah.
And I'm just I wonder if this gets just weird, that's just kind of this unregulated market.
It's so unregulated, but the major ones that have the budget to pull off something like that, they're careful.
Probably.
I think the thing that I'm thinking of is just with GPS problems, where you have your GPS tells me to drive into a lake or sends trucks through a small town. So you have this, if a poorly done game would be sending large masses of people into someone's private property or something like
Yeah, it's the same issue with people telling people to do things on the internet.
Yeah.
Really, it's
Eventually, you will meet some wacko who doesn't care about the fact that he's about to commit a crime.
Yeah.
Well, technically geocaching's a crime because a lot of times you do walk on a private property.
Yeah.
And geocaching's got a huge following, so there can be things where you can get in trouble. It's just
The way these things work, eventually you're going to find somebody who doesn't know their boundaries.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you just have a group. I'm saying it's okay. I'm in an alternate reality game. It's the marketing firm is you have a lot of people with that assumption that I'm in this game and it's all done ahead of time, but there's a mistake or it's just someone who's just pranking, briefing people, and eventually everything's fine until this last thing where they send you someplace, scam baiting, but only without scams.
I was just wondering if it happened. I mean, obviously,
not that I'm aware of. It's totally possible,
Okay.
but I don't remember hearing any major stories where it's because there's a big thing about be safe, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
Because one of the first things I wanted to do, because sometimes when you sign up for these things, they ask for your phone number and your address, so they can send you stuff. And I wanted to send somebody a spider so bad.
What about
just the thing with the spider and an important clue. Just get the clue. I don't know why. But I always thought that was a great idea.
This guy sent me a dead spider.
or Bob?
It looked like it choked on some sort of note.
You gotta send a bobcat.
Thank you. That was really fun.
But yeah, they're fun. Check them out. They're a good time, and I recommend you.
Jigsaw's running out of ideas.
They did Jigsaw. I'm sure. Yeah. Well,
I have a theory that all of this alternate reality thing is just Jigsaw trying to find his next great idea.
He's crowdsourcing it.
So I got a quick question about the stand-up comedy thing. I might have brought this up last night, but so I have a friend who is in Chicago, and she's going through the sort of the Second City track where you take classes, then you get to the next thing, and then the conservancy, and then you do some more tryouts, and you get picked for like the regional or the local or the cruise ship. And I was just wondering that as is a New York area, is there a defined, like, I start here and then I go here and then I get on tours? Is there like a way that works in the East Coast?
There's not like a
literally, you could ask this to 100 comedians, get 100 different answers. Because there are the people that are like, what you got to do, you got to pay your dues, you got to do this, this, and this, you got to find a mentor, do this, 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 and then someone like, well, Will Burnham just put his stuff on the internet and now he's really famous. Oh, he's not a real comic. No, he's a real comic because he gets paid a lot of money to do comedy, which is, I think, is the definition of a comedian. So there's no like set way.
Well, in the Second City model, there really is a set way. Like you do these things and you get on SNL.
Don't get me wrong. Like it's if you say I've been through Second City, yeah, that's going to be great. Second City is big for improv. For stand-up, it's not as known.
Okay.
There are the people that do get notified through that, but not really. That's more sketch, improv stuff. I mean, it's a great thing to say if you want to be on like SNL. Mm-hmm. But especially with stand-up comedy, it's a lot of just like hustling and knowing people and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing.
How long is I've never really been to a comedy club. How long is a normal set?
A set?
Depends on the club.
Yeah, it depends on a lot of things. Basically, the way it usually works is you start with open mics. They'll give you 5 minutes unless you're terrible, and then they'll give you 3. And that's, again, just one way you can do it is go to comedy open mics, work there, work on your time, and then you can get a guest spot. The guest spot will be 5 minutes. And then maybe you'll get a 10-minute guest spot. And then maybe you'll get like a 15-minute feature. And then maybe you'll host a little bit. So you can do 5 minutes up front, 5 minutes in the middle, and then maybe a little bit at the end. Then you can work up to being a headliner, which is usually like a half hour in a show. If it's just your show, then you're going to do an hour. Most people don't do more than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
They usually call it, I'm working on the new hour. That's what I'm doing. Unless you're Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby does like a 3-hour show. He's a madman. But then there's the other route. There's 2 routes of comedians that I've seen. There's the ones I've just described, and then there's the people that aren't near a comedy club, so they do music open mics. And at a music open mic, they don't understand comedy, so they're like, I don't know, we give the musicians 20 minutes. You want to do 20 minutes? And then you see these comedians that are used to just writing for 20 minutes. And then they'll come to a comedy show and they're like, all right, you have 3 minutes. He's like, that's just me saying hello in the beginning of a joke. There's not even a funny thing that I can do in that amount of time. But for the most part, if you can do 5 minutes, you can get on stage and do comedy. It's if you can say those words out loud for 5 minutes, you're fine. Comedy is all about just trying to find that next level. I mean, like, there's definitely nowhere in the comedy handbook that says form a comedy group and tour conventions. That was our plan. It's like, because one of the important things that you learn is you can have the funniest joke in the world. You will find people that don't get it. It's the truth. It's like everyone's different. So a major part of comedy is not just getting shows, but getting shows with your audience. Because like I've done black shows and I haven't done terribly, but like the way I attack those shows is like, this is an entirely black room. I'm a white guy. I'm going to show how like removed I am from black culture and play my whiteness up a little bit, and that's how I'll do that show. But I'm not the greatest there. I'm the greatest here. So that's why I try to get shows with with people that don't get it.